You get sick today, you take a pill, and boom, better in a day. We have a pill for literally everything. Headache, pill, fever, pill, infection, pill. We don't even think twice about it anymore. Don't feel like leaving the house? Medicine shows up at your door in an hour. But rewind the clock way back. No pharmacy, no doctor, no 911. Just you, a fire, and your own body fighting for its life. So how on earth did ancient humans survive being sick with nothing? No medicine, no hospitals, no germ theory. The answer is wilder than you think. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll never look at a painkiller the same way again. Let's go back, way back. Tens of thousands of years ago, humans lived in small tribal groups. Every single illness was a potential death sentence. Every journey, every migration could carry sickness right along with it. A simple infected cut could kill you in days. There were no antibiotics. Bacteria had free reign. Diseases we shrug off today were absolute killers back then. Average life expectancy? Often under 35 years. So getting sick wasn't scary, it was often fatal. And yet, somehow, our ancestors survived long enough to give us. They had no idea germs even existed. No microscopes, no concept of bacteria or viruses. So sickness was often blamed on spirits, curses, or angry gods. But even without knowing why they were sick, they still acted. Through pure trial and error, across thousands of years, patterns emerged. Eat this berry, get sick. Eat that leaf, feel better. Over generations, tribes built a mental library of what worked, and that knowledge got passed down, elder to child, for thousands of years. This wasn't guesswork forever, it slowly became real knowledge. And it all started with plants. Willow tree bark was chewed for pain and fever for thousands of years. That bark contains a compound that later became aspirin. That's right, one of our most common painkillers started as chewed tree bark. Honey was smeared directly onto open wounds. Honey is naturally antibacterial, it actually helps stop infection. Doctors still use medical grade honey on wounds in hospitals right now. Garlic was eaten to fight infections and parasites. Garlic actually does have natural antimicrobial properties. Herbal teas were brewed for cough, fevers, and stomach pain. Ginger, mint, and chamomile still used today for the exact same reasons. Crushed plantain leaves were used to soothe cuts and stings. Not everything tasted great, but if it worked, it stuck around. The opium poppy was chewed to dull pain and help people sleep through it. It may be humanity's very first painkiller. Aloe vera gel was smeared onto burns to cool and speed up healing. Some plants healed, others poisoned people. It was a dangerous gamble. Every remedy was tested the hard way on real people. But plants weren't the only weapon. Fire played a huge role too. Sweat lodges were used across many ancient cultures to fight sickness. The idea, sweat out the fever, sweat out the illness. We now know fever is actually your body fighting infection on purpose. So heating the body wasn't crazy, some germs genuinely struggle in heat. Steam was inhaled under a blanket to loosen coughs and clear the lungs. Heated stones were pressed onto sore muscles and joints. For serious wounds, some cultures used cauterization, burning the wound shut. Brutal, painful, but it stopped bleeding and sealed out infection. There was no anesthesia. You just had to endure it. Cold water was used to bring down swelling and fevers too. Hot to sweat it out, cold to calm it down. Both had a place, but it gets even more intense. Some ancient humans performed actual surgery. Sharpened flint and obsidian were used as surgical tools. One shocking practice was called trepanation, drilling a hole into the skull. Yes, while the patient was alive and often awake. It was believed to release pressure, evil spirits, or bad blood. Incredibly, archaeologists found skulls where the bone actually healed afterward. That means some patients survived brain surgery using rocks in the Stone Age. Wounds were also stitched shut using plant fibers, hair, or animal sinew. Some cultures used ant jaws as makeshift stitches, letting ants bite the wound closed. Then they'd snap off the ant's body, leaving just the clamped jaw behind. Spider webs were pressed onto cuts, they helped blood clot faster. Rotten teeth were simply yanked out with sharpened stone tools. Broken bones were splintered using sticks and vines to keep them straight. It wasn't pretty, but it worked well enough to save limbs and lives. For snake bites, some healers sucked the venom out by mouth and spat it away. Now here's the part that sounds disgusting, but actually saved lives. Maggots were deliberately placed on infected wounds. They only eat dead, infected tissue, leaving healthy flesh untouched. This actually worked so well, doctors still use maggot therapy today. Moldy bread was pressed onto wounds in several ancient cultures. Certain molds naturally produce antibacterial compounds. Sound familiar? That's basically penicillin thousands of years before it was discovered. Tree resin was smeared over cuts, sealing them off like a natural bandage. Animal fat was rubbed onto dry, cracked skin to protect and soothe it. Ancient humans stumbled onto real science, purely through observation and desperation. But maybe their smartest move had nothing to do with plants or tools. When someone got seriously sick, many tribes isolated them from the group. They didn't know about germs, but they understood sickness could spread. This basic quarantine instinct protected entire communities from wipeouts. Washing with clean river water was common practice after contact with the sick. Contaminated bedding and clothing were often burned, not reused. They didn't have the word contagion, but they understood the concept. Rest, warmth, and food were treated as essential parts of recovery. The tribe would care for the sick together, sharing the burden. Childbirth had its own dedicated caregivers, guiding mothers through labor. Certain elders became specialized healers, trusted to mix remedies for the whole tribe. Some communities even kept small patches of land just for growing healing herbs. Rituals and chanting were part of care, too often more for comfort than cure. Community care was, in many ways, ancient medicine's secret weapon. Now let's not romanticize this too much. For every remedy that worked, countless people still died. Infant and child mortality rates were devastatingly high. A simple infection, a bad birth, or a broken bone could easily be fatal. Diseases like tuberculosis, dysentery, and plague swept through communities repeatedly. Entire settlements could be wiped out by a single outbreak. Sometimes sickness traveled with traders, arriving in villages that had no defense against it. Harsh winters and food shortages left bodies too weak to fight off illness. Even a small animal bite could turn deadly if infection set in. Survival wasn't guaranteed. It was a constant, brutal fight. Every piece of medical knowledge we take for granted was paid for in lives. But those losses weren't wasted. Each one taught the next generation something new. Generation after generation, that knowledge kept growing. So how does any of this connect to modern medicine? Willow bark literally became aspirin. Moldy bread led scientists straight to penicillin. Maggot therapy is used in hospitals for tough wounds even today. Ancient isolation huts became modern quarantine and isolation wards. Honey wound care is literally sold in pharmacies right now. That sharpened stone blade eventually became the surgical scalpel. That crude stick splint eventually became the plaster cast. Even ancient herbal remedies helped pave the way toward modern vaccines. In a strange way, we never really left the cave. We just refined thousands of years of trial, error, and observation. Every pill in your cabinet has ancient fingerprints on it. Hold a pill in one hand and a leaf in the other, they're more connected than you think. Modern medicine didn't start in a lab. It started around a fire. So next time you take a simple pill for a headache, remember someone, thousands of years ago, risked their life testing the very first version of it. Ancient humans didn't have medicine, but they had something just as powerful: observation, instinct, and community. And honestly, that combination still saves lives today. It's wild to think how much of what we rely on today traces back to a campfire. Bark, honey, garlic, fire, stone blades, maggots, mold, and quarantine huts, it all led here. And it all started with nothing more than trial and error. Somewhere out there, one of our ancestors survived another night, just by figuring things out. And because they did, an entire tribe got to see the next sunrise. If this blew your mind, you know exactly what to do. So which of these ancient remedies surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments. Drop your answer below, I'll be reading through them. If you learned something new today, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel keep telling stories like this one. Subscribe, because ancient history is way weirder than you were ever taught. And turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. There's a lot more ancient history where this came from. Something even wilder is coming up next. Keep an eye out for it. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. From the caves to right now, thank you for coming along for the ride. Stay curious, stay healthy, stay curious, stay healthy. Even in silence, survival has a story to tell. Somewhere, under the same stars, this story is still continuing. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care of yourself. See you soon.